Hello, Salemites. Welcome to Day's Daily Dose TV. This is your weekly update for Days of Our Lives for May the 22nd through the 26th. What's popping in Salem? Oh my gosh, it's been a crazy week again. Okay, so a lot of things were going on when we left Friday. One of the main things that were going on is that, well, it wasn't one of the main things, but I want to get this out of the way really quick, is that, Stefan had proposed to Gabby, and they announced that to EJ and Nicole, and they told them, yeah, we're going to run Mera Enterprises as a power couple. So EJ turns around and proposes to Nicole. When we left Friday, she wasn't looking too happy about it, and I don't have to tell you why. This looked like a proposal that didn't mean crap to him, really. And that's what she thought. That's what she said. So when we take off Monday, she tells him no. And she tells him that wasn't a serious proposal and this and that. So then he tries to make it serious, and he tells her, he loves her. He's in love with her. And she's like, you like me? And he's like, you didn't figure that out yet? We all figured that out. I don't know. I think he does care about her. Okay. So anyway, when we left off Friday, we had people on the roof in trouble. So, Colin has Chanel and Paulina up on the rooftop. Abe is on his way to the hospital now. We saw that Rafe found him Friday, and he is in and out of consciousness. Rafe ends up having to have emergency surgery. He's got a bleed in his brain, and he is freaking out that Rafe is at the hospital when he told him that Paulina was in danger. He was like, Paulina, And then he went into what I thought was a cardiac arrest, but we find out later that he started having a seizure. And that's when they found it out he had a brain bleed. Okay. Rafe and Jada go looking for Sloan. They find her and Eric at the pub. And they go in, they're talking to her, they're asking her questions. And it's like, we want to talk to you about your brother. And she was pretty careful not to let anything slip. And Rafe said, so you mean to tell me your brother's been in town and you didn't know about it? And you want us to believe that? And so she ended up coming clean and telling him what she knew. That she was not aware that he was in town until she had overheard something they said in the police station. And she went to check it out for herself. And she told him to, get out of town. She did confess to them that, yes, he is the one that has done all these things to Paulina and Chanel, and Sloan didn't know anything about it, and actually she didn't. Excuse me. But all in all, people still can blame this on Sloan because she spent her life vowing to go after Paulina and Chanel, and she really, she was the older sister, she kind of led the way for her little brother. But she says she wasn't around a lot when he was growing up after their mother died, so, but she said it affected him in a very, negative way. Okay, so, Sloan is arrested. Jada, when she's interviewing or interrogating Sloan, Jada lets it slip. Where's my Kleenex? That, that her brother was apparently slimy enough to convince her sister to do his dirty work. And she's like, what? Exactly what is the relationship between my brother and your sister? So, Jada's, anyway, Nicole called, I made this little note because it was funny. Nicole called EJ's proposal an opportunistic something. Can't even read my own writing. Oh, an opportunistic jackass is what she called him. Okay, so excuse me, Monday we're back on the roof, and it is an intense scene. I mean, all the actors, they did so great at making this seem real, because I was crying and yelling and carrying on, and I was feeling bad for everybody, because I just had this sick feeling for Jada, that something was going to happen to her sister. And I do not like Colin. I don't even want to go there. So anyway, they're on the roof. When did Paulina passed out? Colin, Paulina, Chanel, and Talia eventually all end up on the roof. But Jada, she has to go find Talia. So she's looking for Talia, and Talia ends up calling her. And she's like, Jada, I messed up. I messed up so bad. I messed up real bad. And Jada's like, where are you? You need to come to me. And she's like, no, you need to come to me. And she told her where she was. Well, she's already freaking out because she found Paulina's scarf in Colin's hotel room. So Jada gets there, and she's telling her everything, or a lot of it, that Colin is the one, and she didn't think for a second he would really hurt them, and blah, 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 and Jada's just flipping out because she's caught between her job and her loyalty for her sister. So she walks a fine line, I tell you. So she looks through this scrapbook thing that Colin had there, like a photo album of his parents, and then I think she said a picture of the rooftop or his parents on a roof or something. And anyway, that's when it clicked in Talia's head, and she's like, that's it. I think Paulina was here and he took her to the roof, because this is Paulina's scarf. So they run up to the roof, and sure enough, that's where they are. So Colin's got Paulina by gunpoint, got his hand around his neck, Chanel screaming, Mama, Mama, and Paulina's over there, don't you worry, baby girl, don't you worry, baby girl. And oh, poor Jada. I felt bad for her for just everything. And then, she's got her gun, and she's telling him to drop it. Everybody's screaming. And he's like, I'm going to shoot her and throw her over the side, or I'm just going to throw her over the side. He was saying all kinds of stuff. Everybody's yelling. And then Paulina just collapses. She starts having a panic attack. And she's having trouble breathing, and she just collapses, and he has to drop her. He can't hold her up and hold a gun in another arm, another hand. So she collapses and ends up kind of hanging over the wall. And it is, and I said this in my shorts video, it is this few seconds right there that Jada should have shot him. And I think the writers messed up here, because there was a lag there. And she should have took him out then, but she didn't. And then he grabbed Chanel. Why didn't you shoot his wrist, shoot the gun out of his hand or something? You didn't have to kill him. To disable him so all the gals could get off the roof. But Jada didn't. But so then she took Chanel, and he's saying, I'm going to throw her over the edge, and this, and her over the roof, and all this, and Chanel screaming, Mama, Mama, you okay, Mama? And just out of nowhere, Jada just runs across the rooftop and jumps on Colin and starts wrestling him for the gun. The gun's up in the air. You just know that gun's going to flip around and shoot somebody innocent. But it didn't. They wrestled, and Jada's screaming, Talia, move. Let me get the shot. Get out of the way. And Talia's she wants to get that gun. Talia wants everybody to be okay, but she's already in too deep. So, they wrestled, and they went off the roof. Talia and Colin were fighting right off the roof. Colin landed flat, and Talia went through an awning. Now, they both did survive, which is not possible. And the few little injuries that they had also is not possible. I mean, I was in nursing school in 1984 when I graduated, but, pretty much anybody with no medical training could figure that out. But, maybe it still, even if it was only a 2-story building, which it wasn't, it was taller because you could see other stuff when they were on the roof. So I don't think they thought that through. But that's okay. That's okay. So everybody's screaming, and they're getting Jada immediately ran downstairs to try to see if her sister Talia was okay. The gun. Yeah, we're already into Tuesday now. Chanel ends up telling Rafe her whole story, like on the phone, and he sends a car to get them, but they're done out of there because the only thing Paulina can think of is, "Where's my Abraham? I gotta get to Abe." She loves Abe, so he's her husband. So she's trying to go to the hospital to get Abe. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, Sloan and Eric are in the square talking, and Sloan actually witnesses her brother splatting right there on the ground, right in front of her. They heard a noise. They looked over, and she's like, "Oh my God!" And she went over there, and it was her brother. Of course, first look, and he landed on his back. There's no way he don't have some broken bones. You guys got to do better than this on the writing. It's a little bit hard to believe, but I was so wrapped up in the moment, I was actually glad that they were both alive. But I really did like Talia. How do you say her name? It's a beautiful name. She's a beautiful girl. And she's wrapped up in an abusive relationship. That's what's going on there. She's, I think Eric called the ambulance, but there's an ambulance on the way. And Jada comes down looking for Talia, and Eric says, "I think she's under the awning." And he helps her move the awning off, and Talia's there. And Eric's trying to help Jada with Talia because Sloan is over there with Colin. And, poor Jada. She's losing it bad. And, let's see. Okay, so they get in the hospital. Both of them get in the hospital, and we see that both of them are going to survive. Talia's setting up with a couple of bandages, and she's able to talk and everything. And Jada went in and was talking to her. Why would you get mixed up with this guy? Don't tell me you still love him. And she's like, "I do." And Jada, both of his parents died. I felt bad for him. It hurt him bad, and I was just trying to help him. And she's just looking at her sister like, "What's wrong with you?" And she's caught up in a mentally abusive, controlling relationship. That's what's wrong with her. I know it's so easy to get aggravated with people that are caught up in these relationships, but they cannot help it. They really can't. They just can't break free. They're going to have some assistance. Okay, so, she tells Jada, because Kayla comes in and says, "I've got to do this," or blah, 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 and she's going to need to sleep. And she said, okay. And Talia told Jada, "Can you do me one favor?" And she just looked at her. She said, "Can you go see if Colin's okay for me?" And Jada just gave her that look like, "Are you kidding me? You're worried about if he's okay?" Again, it's not registering with Jada because of everything. She's just looking at it like, you crazy sister, You're mixed up with a man that caused you to put your career on hold. You may not even ever be able to be a doctor now, that you used it to poison people, drug people, basically. So I don't know. Meanwhile, I'm back at the ranch. Sloan is talking to Colin, and he's like, they were talking about, she's like, you shouldn't have done all this, and he's like, "Well, you did everything you could legally, and then I had to step in." And she said, "Well, I just did what I thought I had to do." He said, "You told me you weren't going to pursue it anymore, You found someone, you wanted to have a regular life, so I took it over. It's all coming back to, it's going to be a lot of guilt on Sloane. Because there were some things she could have done to change it, but who knows, what might have happened. So he's talking to her, and he's like, I don't need it. She said, Colin, you are my brother, and it doesn't matter what you've done. Nothing will change the fact you are my brother. And he said, well, I don't need a sister right now. I need a lawyer. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I meant it when I said it. You're a very good lawyer. Now I need you to work your magic and get me out of this. And she's just looking at him, and she's like, Colin, you assaulted the governor, and he is in the hospital. He is having brain surgery, right now, and he might not even survive. And he's like, just looking at her, and she said, and you held his wife and his stepdaughter at gunpoint on the roof. I don't know what anybody can do to help you. And he's like, go on, work your magic. He's like, I would have got away with it. I would have gotten it all taken care of if it hadn't been for Talia. She had to step in and ruin it. And Sloane's just looking at her, and he said, I'd do it all over again if I could. And that's when Sloane looked at him, and I think it's clicking in Sloane's mind now. He's got some real mental health issues, and I'm going to have to get him some help. And you're going to have to make sure he gets the help. So she's just looking at him like he's a nut. So Talia and Colin both have their sisters looking at him like they're crazy for this whole situation. So, also, Wendy makes it home. She tells Lee that, she's interested in Trip and Johnny. And Lee's like, well, didn't you believe what Johnny said about the poison biscuits? She said, yeah, I believe that. She said, but, I was already in Seattle, and I kind of like them both, but I know I'm going to have to choose. And Lee's Shin said, why do you have to choose? And he's right. I mean, she's not in a committed relationship to either one of them, but she's playing them off of each other, which I don't like. So she went to visit see Johnny, who was calling her at that moment. And she told him, she likes Trip and she likes him. And she said, I don't want it to be like a competition. And Johnny said, well, I don't mind it being a competition because I think I got pretty good odds. And he said, you're not blowing me off? And she said, no, I just like you both. I want to date you both. So Johnny was cool with it because he feels like he can win her over. I think Johnny needs to move on to like a real woman because I don't know what they're seeing in her. She half the time goes to work, and she I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't fired her at Mera. She's never there. I don't like Wendy. Don't like her. It's nothing against the actress. I think anybody that would have played her part wouldn't have much of a go there. But if she got involved with Johnny, she could have her a go. I just don't want Johnny with her. He needs to be with Chanel or somebody else. Anyway, Johnny's okay with that crap, believe it or not. Okay, Wednesday, Andrew Donovan wakes up in a chair tied up and realizes he's been kidnapped. Well, who kidnapped him? Well, Dimitri's people, Dimitri and Megan, of course. And they're trying to work a deal now that Dimitri, Megan, and now they're going to add Kristen into the mix at the last minute. All three of them want immunity and freedom to be able to get Andrew Donovan back, and without any repercussions for kidnapping him, because they kidnapped him for this reason, to get their immunity. So when somebody's like blackmailing you like that, I mean, it seems like the cops have the ability to, just kind of say they're going to do something and not, and then just go on and arrest you anyway, keep you in jail. I don't know how it all works. Harris and Patch are asking Dimitri questions And he tells them that Megan is his mother. And we were just learning this in the last few days. Demetrius, after Patch is gone, offers Harris a job working with him and Megan. He's like, you're never gonna get your respect with them. You see how they talk to you. They don't care that you came clean and helped them out. But we will. We like having loyal people. He declined that, so Kristen and Megan wait their release from jail. And they have plans on going back to Salem. So John, he goes on to wherever it is that Paul is. Oh, it's not Las Vegas. Where is he? He's not in San Francisco. That's where he is, I think. And he breaks the news to him that Andrew is being held captive. But the good news is Dimitri's little plan and little negotiations worked. They put a wrench into it when they added Kristen into the mix. But he got them. He got them all three immunity and all three freed. So Andrew is released and shows up at Paul's door after John leaves. So that's great, right? Megan goes to the pub where she overhears Kate and walks upon Kate and Roman, who were talking about she's going to Statesville to visit Lucas. And she said, I'm going to stop in on Megan and give that bitch a piece of my mind. And Megan was standing behind her and said, well, looks like I saved you a trip. And they both jumped. And Roman looked over her papers and everything. They were not happy to see Megan out. Megan's next stop is she's moving home to the DeMera mansion. Now, I think Megan and EJ would make a great ally, fighting force of the DeMera family. EJ definitely has the strong business sense and is not afraid to make moves, and Megan is the same way. Kristen is also the same way, but she's not just business oriented, she's revenge oriented. And she just wants to get her daughter, and that's all she cares about. So that's Kristen shows up at Marlena's, and Marlena opens the door, and she's shocked to see Kristen. And she looks over Kristen's papers, and she's like, well, Kristen, I'm sorry, Rachel isn't here, Brady's not here, and blah, blah, blah. Then Brady comes in, and Brady and Kristen just get into it. So, and that's a wrap for Wednesday, the 24th. We move on to Thursday. So, Dimitri goes to visit his now Uncle Chad. So he knocks on Chad's door, and it's Dimitri, and Chad's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I got out, so I come to talk to you, Uncle Chad. I thought you could fire up the DeMera jet and we could jet on back to Salem. And Chad is overwhelmed, and he said, she was telling him he was Megan's son, Megan's his sister, they're both out, and everybody's going to Salem. Chad was not up with that. And he said, unfortunately, Dimitri, I'm not going to be friends with people who are criminals, even if they are family members. And second of all, I don't have any control over the DeMera jet. I don't work there. I don't control it. So, it's true. He'd have to go through whoever's running DeMera, like Stefan or EJ, to get the use of the jet. Okay, so we move on to Thursday. And this is Thursday, yeah, when he goes to meet his uncle. They spend a lot of airtime on them chatting. And, Chad is just more appalled than, happy about this union. Brady and Kristen have it out. They continue their fighting. Yeah, they do. And Sean runs upon Harris while they're still in Greece, and he's like, what are you still doing here? And he said, I need to talk to your mother. And he's like, you ain't going near my mother. And he told him what he wanted to let her know, that Megan and, Kristen and all of them are on the loose. They're free. And Sean went away, came back, and told him, well, I'll let my mom know So thanks for the heads up. And he says, well, he said, I guess I'll see you back in Salem. And he's like, what are you talking about? He said, I'm moving to Salem. And he said, it has nothing to do with your mom. I was born and raised there. I don't have any ties here in Greece. I'm going to Salem. Sorry if that inconveniences you and your family. And Sean's like, all right, yeah. So, there was a lot of time spent on, this was so cool. When Megan was talking to Roman and Kate, and she kept talking to Roman, she said his name a couple times, Roman. And she said, first she called him Chris. And then she said, oh, I mean Roman. And then a few minutes later, she said, for some reason, I keep wanting to call you Chris. And if you're a long-time Days of Our Lives fan, you're going to have to be fairly old, over 50, I'd say. I don't know what year it was, or what years it was. But it was so funny because, Megan played on Days of Our Lives when she was young, very young. Just like Bo and Hope, they were all young. We all used to be young. And I haven't looked it up, the dates, but I'm pretty sure she was referring to him because he played a character back in the day, Chris Kozacek. And I think it was during the time that Megan was on the show. And I think that's just a little slip that they just let stay in there. For some reason, I keep wanting to call you Chris. That was just a little something for the die-hard fans. And if you are, and you knew Chris Kozacek, who was one handsome dude, yes, he was. That was a little, I like that. I thought that was cute. I love Megan, though. I absolutely loved her when she was young, and I love her when she's older. She's just great. She's just an entertaining character. So cunning, so smart, and yet dangerous. I think her and EJ would make a good team. I hope they team up. Okay, so that was it for Thursday. Friday, which is today, the day of all days. Okay, in case you haven't been up to snuff, Nicole is pregnant, and she doesn't know if she's pregnant by Eric or EJ. Now, she didn't cheat on EJ, but she did. Her and Eric got hopped up on the biscuits and did the dance. Now, they didn't mean to. They were out of their heads. They were high on drugs, and they didn't mean to. It was an accident. Supposedly meant nothing to either one of them, so EJ and Sloan both forgave them. They couldn't control that. They were poisoned. Okay, so out of this little mess, Nicole comes up pregnant. Sloan finds out she's pregnant because she runs into her in the hospital and accidentally knocks the prenatal vitamins out of her hand. Okay, Kayla tells her, that this next week she needs to get a DNA swab out of somebody's cheek, one or the other of the boys. She don't need both of them. And she can do the DNA and find out who the father is. Now, Nicole wasn't really trying to be deceiving or anything like that. She just wants to know exactly who the father is before she lets people know she's pregnant. She don't want to be, going around, we don't know who the daddy is, and giving people the opportunity to mess with the results, which has happened more than once on Days of Our Lives. It's a regular thing in Salem. Okay, so today Nicole's at the hospital where Kayla gives her the kit where she needs to swab one of the guys. So she's standing there just looking at the kit, and Sloan gets off the elevator because she's there to visit her brother. She's like, Nicole! And Nicole's like, oh, jeez, here she comes, Well, there she goes over there. She's like, I saw Kayla just hand you that box, and you're standing there like you're holding a bomb. So what's going on? And, she didn't say anything, and then she told her about the DNA test, and she said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, well, can't you get it from EJ, get a swab while he's asleep? And she's like, no. And then he wakes up, and I have to explain what I'm doing, and So Sloane offers to take the DNA kit and get it from Eric. She said, he's a heavy sleeper. She said, you should know that. I shouldn't have a problem swabbing him and him not even knowing it. Nicole was hesitant, but in the end, she gave her the box, or was getting the swab out of the box to give to her so she could go swab Eric when he was asleep. Well, while they're standing there talking and Nicole's getting into the box, up walks Eric. He's like, what's going on here? And that's actually toward the end of the episode today. So that's how they left that. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get on to the even better stuff. Let's get on to the Mera family. Do. Oh, yes. So Megan is in the Mera mansion. She's walking around talking to her daddy. They all talk to No up on the wall. And she goes home, and EJ walks in and says, excuse me, who are you and what are you doing in my house? And she's like, she goes over and introduces herself. And he's like a little bit thrown off, a little bit sketchy there. You know, he don't like the fact she's there. And he's like, oh, and you got out of prison and whatever their chit chat is. And he's acting a little standoffish. And she's like, I would think you would be very welcoming. I've come back to claim my place in the Mera home and in the Mera businesses, and, you know, maybe you want to be nice to me because you might need my vote for something. It's my understanding I should have a vote and an equal share as a Mera child. And he's like, welcome. Let's have some champagne. Oh, EJ's such a squirt. Oh, he is just so funny. And they whip out the champagne and they're talking and drinking it up. It's so funny. Okay. Tony and Anna are out at dinner. Now, Anna and Sloane are and besides Kayla, Anna, Sloane, Kayla, and Nicole, they're four people that know about Nicole's situation and that she's pregnant. Anna's her little confidant, her little secret keeper. So she's on the phone. I don't know where Tony went. They're at a restaurant. And she's calling Nicole just to check in on her and see how she's doing. And she's like, did you get those prenatal vitamins? And, you know, Nicole's like, Anna, there's not anyone standing close to you that can overhear you or anything, is it? And she said, no, of course not. Trust me, honey. Nobody's going to find out about the pregnancy from me. And then she looked over and there stands Tony, and she's like, I gotta go. And she's like, what's wrong? Why do you gotta go? Did someone overhear? Bye, you know. And she kind of hangs up on her because there's Tony. So, this is so funny. Oh my God, this is so worth watching. Anna is hilarious. Okay, so Anna gets off the phone and Tony sits down and says something about ordering something, and he's just looking at her. And she's like, oh, and he's like, so who were you on the phone with? And she said, oh, nobody. It was the wrong number. And he's like, really? Because I heard you say that no one will hear about this pregnancy from me. So, with her quick wit, Anna tells Tony, she's like, he's like, so who's pregnant, Anna? Do I know her? And she's like, yes, Tony. You know her very well. and he's like, expecting for her to tell. And she says, it's me. I'm pregnant. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard I almost couldn't stop laughing. Now, so I'm just looking at Tony's face because I'm thinking, I mean, they've tried to have kids for years. And I'm sitting there thinking, Tony's he's not going to believe this. And she said, I know, honey. It's just it's unbelievable. And she's like, I could hardly believe it when I was told too. And he said, who told you, Anna? How did you find out you were pregnant? And she said, well, Rolf, Dr. Rolf, he was doing this. He had some infertility drugs he wanted to test, and I agreed to be the guinea pig, and it's a miracle. And Tony's over there. Yes, indeed, it's a miracle. And she's like going on about it, and he said, oh my goodness. And she's like, yeah, all these years, and we thought we'd never be parents. And he's just, so he's playing along. He's like, it's just wonderful, Anna. Oh, you got a baby. Oh my gosh. Oh, Anna, it's wonderful. And he's acting like he believes her, and he's going along with her, and the rest of the world's over here laughing. Oh my God. I was laughing out loud for sure. Neighbors probably heard me. I was laughing so hard at this. And so he said, oh, we should celebrate. And she said, like, yeah, yes, I'll toast to that, Tony. And he said, oh, no, Anna, no. You got to think about the baby. And she said, oh, you're right, Tony. And he said, as a matter of fact, we're going to need to, that means you'll have no alcohol, no wine for 9 months. And she's like, no wine. And he's like, as a matter of fact, I'm going to fix it where you're not even tempted. We're going to take all the wine from the wine cellar and just give it away. And she's like, what, Tony? Are you crazy? There's other people in the house that drink wine. And he said, not really. EJ and I are like scotch. Johnny's a beer boy. And Stefano likes something else. So he said it really wouldn't be a big ordeal. And he was telling all these things she was going to have to give up. And she's just freaking out. I don't know what her plans were. But he finally called her out. And he said, really, like believing that you're pregnant, Anna? And she said, I'm sorry, Tony, but I promised to keep a secret, and that's why I made up that ridiculous story with Dr. Rolf. And it was absolutely ridiculous, and it was so funny. Oh, especially when she told him, it's me, Tony. Oh, God. How he kept from busting out laughing, I don't know. But, I'm sure he gets amused by her antics. But, oh, God, it was funny. Anyway, she's like, I can't tell you, Tony. And he's like, is it Nicole? It's Nicole, isn't it, Anna? And she's like, oh, Tony, how did you figure that out? You can't tell anyone, Tony. Promise me you won't tell anyone. And he's like, well, it stands to reason. She trusted you with one secret, that she would trust you with another. And she said, you just need to keep a secret, EJ. And he said, I don't know, Anna. I feel like EJ deserves to know that his woman is pregnant. And Anna had to tell him, well, there's a little bit of a problem. Nicole doesn't exactly know who the father of the baby is. And he's like, oh, dear. And she's like, yeah. So I don't know if Tony's going to keep his mouth shut or not. So I didn't hear Anna. We didn't hear the rest of the conversation, but I'm sure Anna told him. Well, I think she did actually tell him that they were just waiting to find out who the father was, to not uproar everyone. So surely he can understand that. He's a reasonable man. We'll see how that goes. Oh my God, it's just so funny. It's so funny. So it's just so good to see all these DeMeras under one roof. And I don't think there's ever been a time in history that so many DeMera children were under the DeMera roof at one time. This has got to be history in Salemism. So they're there, and Kristen runs into Stefan and Gabby, and I just love them. Gabby in particular. I'm heartbroken she's leaving Days. She's already done. You know, they filmed 6 months in advance. They said she's got scenes, I think, up to October or something. And I think they're going to kill her off. You know, it just pisses me off. Never mind. I might just make a video about it. Anyway, so Kristen's like, did I overhear wedding plans? Oh, I'm so excited for both of you. I'm free to be the maid of honor. And Gabby's just going off on her, calling her names and everything else. And I don't know if it was before or after she starts talking about... Oh, no, it's after. So she's going off, cussing her, calling her all kinds of names, and Stefan is trying to get her to shut up. And he finally turns Gabby around. He said, Gabby, you need to think. And she's like, what? And he said, you shouldn't be so mean to Kristen. She's like, why? She did this and this and this and this. And he said, we might need her vote. And Kristen's standing there listening to all this. And Gabby said, a vote? Yeah. I didn't think about that. So then she turned around and was trying to walk it back to Kristen, saying, you know, I was just so stressed out and it triggered me that you were going to make me lose him again or something. And, you know, Kristen said, I understand all that. It's fine. It's fine. So they decide that they're going to be, I guess, allies. And Kristen tells him, I want you to take me home with you. Don't you still own the house? He said, well, that's up for debate. But she's like, I need a place to stay. So Stefan and Gabby take Kristen home, which they think they're going to be rubbing that in EJ's face. Look, we got a vote. We're moving in Kristen. Well, hello. So they get home and they're telling, and of course they have Kristen with them, and they're like, we decided to invite Kristen in. And they're all, you know, because Kristen's like, is that champagne? And he's like, yes. So I forget how it came about, but Gabby and Stefan are over there, you know, kind of propping Kristen up. And then EJ said, really? Well, I'd like you to meet your sister Megan or something like that. And Megan walked out. And he said, Megan's moving in too. So we can, he said, they're going to have a dinner in her honor. So he said, yes, we're celebrating the return home of one of our own. And Kristen's like, well, I didn't expect a dinner and all that. And he said, it wasn't for you. And then out came Megan. Their jaws dropped because they could already see that Megan was a little friendly there with EJ, but she was very nice to all of them that she met. So then they're going to have dinner, and everybody's there except Nicole. Of course, she's not a Mera. And Tony and Anna. So EJ said, well, let's call Tony. We got to get him in on this. So he called Tony, I guess, and told Tony what was going on. He took the call and said, we'd love to come. And they head back to the mansion. So everyone is very happy, really, to see Megan. They're kind of overlooking the fact that she's done some horrible things and stuff. She is still family, and the Meras stick with family. So, is that about it for Friday? It is it for Friday. So when we went off, they were all getting ready to have dinner together. I don't know what's going to go down, but it is going to be good. And the last thing that we did see before it went off the air was when Eric walked up on Nicole and Sloan. Caught them talking, and her either handing the box to her or getting something out of the box. So that's a wrap for the 22nd through the 26th days of our lives. It's been great this week. If you can watch it, do. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, please. Like the video if you liked it. And I will see you all in Salem. I will if I can get my video cut off.